Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your East Oakland advocate. It's a sad day today at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. Three crazy gunmen committed an act of terrorism. Police aren't calling it terrorism, but this is terrorism. And one one person was killed, 9 children were shot. 22 people were injured out of that. One person killed, 22 injured, 9 of those being children. And they caught 3 gunmen, and they had plenty of weapons, ammunition, and the police are trying to figure out why they did this. Well, we're seeing, unfortunately, some really messed up people. Uh, Here we have nearly 1 million people in Kansas City to celebrate their winners, their Super Bowl winners. And it broke out during that celebration. And this is not the first time. We've seen it across America. We've seen it locally here. Domestic terrorism. And that's what this is. And that's what I am calling this, because I worked in counterterrorism. This is terrorism. This is not just plain run-of-the-mill criminal activity. This is criminal terrorism. And we need to create laws to prevent this. This is a good case for bringing back the death penalty for people like this, because there's no rehabbing them. There's no good for it, good use for them. They are committed in doing harm, killing people, and terrorizing people, and that's their goal. And they think it's fun, and it's a joke to them. You know how easily that they can terrify hundreds and thousands of people with just a couple of bullet shots. And we saw this in Las Vegas at that shooting out that hotel window, and killed a lot of people. We see Washington, D.C. with out of control, rampant crime. I mean, it is off the chain crazy. Makes Oakland look subtle compared to what's happening in Washington, D.C., all the murders. But here in Oakland, it's not funny. You know, we have a lot of bad things going on here. We need better policing. In fact, we need to reinvent policing. And that's what I was talking about bringing to the mayor's office, because I will bring a new type of policing service to Oakland to deal with this new type of criminal that our law enforcement does not want to recognize as criminal terrorism, domestic terrorists. And we need to prosecute domestic terrorists differently than standard criminals. And in the case where they kill people in mass numbers, injure people in mass numbers, that is a good argument for the death penalty to take about. And we should eliminate them the same way that they killed people, with a bullet. It's a lot simpler. We don't have any problems with getting chemicals to chemically euthanize them, which is being nice. And these are terrorists. They're not nice people, and we shouldn't be treating them, so nicely and so respectfully, because they need to be treated like the garbage that they are. I've dealt with the street terrorists here, and as you know, I put many of them in emergency, or they ended up in a box. 3 of them are in a box. And that's what you have to do to domestic terrorists. And that's the only way you're going to stop it. Putting them behind bars, giving them a timeout for a few minutes, well, few years. To them, it's just an inconvenience. It does nothing to change their mind. In fact, many of them have such polluted thinking that they'll come out and within just as soon as they get their hands on a weapon or something that they can harm or hurt people with, they'll be at it again. Because I see it time and time. Criminals here in Oakland, as soon as they're out, it's not even an hour, maybe 2 hours that they've been released from jail, that they commit their crimes. They rob somebody, they beat somebody up, they steal a car, they carjack somebody. Minutes after they're released. That's why we need to have some new thinking, some new rules, some new regulations on how to deal with this new type of criminal that conventional, antiquated policing doesn't deal with properly and never will, because you can't change the mindset of these people. I've been exposed to them for so many years now, and then a 20-year career with terrorists around the world. So I'm very familiar with terrorism and what we're experiencing, and we're not going to get control of this, unfortunately, because police departments all around the country have a problem with hiring because of the negative view of the police these days. Nobody wants to be yelled at, spit on, and constantly being a bad mouth. I know I couldn't do it, and there's been a lot of officers over the years that have asked me why I didn't go into law enforcement and why I didn't become a police officer. Well, number one, I told them, you have too many limits. There are too many regulations. Trying to remember all of that shit is ridiculous. And the sergeant that asked me that, he kind of rolled his eyes a bit, and yep, you're right. You're smart. That's all he told me, and he walked away. And I said, yeah, there's too many rules and regulations. When I worked in counterterrorism, I had virtually no rules and regulations. My job was to control them and to deal with them. We have to think differently these days, especially with the new type of domestic terrorist that is evolving. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.